KDSJ Local Sports, Clayson Davis reporting as we catch up with Black Hill State University football head coach Josh Breske. Here in the offseason, recapping the signing day and all 36 athletes signing. As coach, I appreciate the time.
Yeah, I'm glad to meet up, Clayson, and tell you a little bit about our signing class.
So I guess before we dive into a signing class this season, went 3-8 last year, but how do you feel like your team has gotten better to hopefully improve from a 3-8 season a year ago?
Yeah, I think the optimism is at an all-time high. We do a really good job, I think, coming back after Christmas break and understanding that our 2026 season is starting in January. Our guys get that we're breaking the year down into 4 quarters. Quarter 1 is January, February strength and conditioning phase. Quarter 2 is our spring ball. Quarter 3 is summer training, June and July, and then quarter 4 is go time, the longest quarter of our year, so to speak, the season. And so our guys are excited. We kind of talked about go look at Shadron, who went 3-8 in the 2024 season, come back in 2025 and played in a conference title game as an undefeated RMAC opponent in week 12. And it's like, why not us? That could be our story as well. Not just going to happen. We got to understand what we want, and then we have to be willing to go attack it and go get it.
Got some new coaches, some new schemes coming up next season with Drake Davidson being promoted to the offensive coordinator position, changing up some schemes on defense compared to what you've done the last few seasons. How do you feel like some new coaches have stepped up, and what made Drake Davidson a good candidate for the OC, and what do you expect to see from this new look 411 squad next year?
Yeah, first off, 411, we're just making some structural changes to how we're going to line up in our base defense. I think it's going to suit us a little bit more in this conference to be a little bit more of a 3-down team and getting into our 4-down from that 3-down personnel. And so you'll see 3 defensive linemen and 4 linebackers on the field. That field side Sam will be more of kind of a nickel body, and then your boundary rover, a guy who can rush the passer. Most of the teams in our league are operating in these odd fronts or these 3-down fronts. And so I'm excited from an offensive coaching standpoint that we are going to get to practice against structure that we'll play against all year long. That's always been a challenge in spring ball and fall camp, which, are consecutive with, you have your summer break. But we compete against each other in spring ball against a 4-down. We go into fall camp, we compete against each other in a 4-down. And then week 0, hey, look, a 3-down team. Oh crap! We better start drawing circles and X's on the board and get this figured out. But I think that's going to be really healthy for us. And then, I'm excited about Coach Davidson. He's been on our staff now since the 2022 season. Has really proved his growth, his maturity, his knowledge base, his ability to teach, his ability to build relationships with our athletes has been second to none. And so, frankly, I feel like, he probably would have been ready for this for the 25 season and interviewed for this position. And I was kind of hung up on experience, and went out and found an experienced coach that just ended up not being the right type of fit for us. And so, in looking again this year, how can we fill that spot? It was a pretty obvious choice to go with Coach Davidson. I'm really comfortable with him, as a person. He displays a ton of humility. He works well with others. It's not a my way or the highway type of guy. If there's a better way, he wants to know about it. So I'm really excited about Coach Davidson. He's really evolved himself into a great leader on this team, on this staff. And then we just hired a new defensive line coach. Jake Dusenberry is coming to us from Montana State, so a recent national championship team, this year. And so we're excited to have him on staff. He's originally from Kansas, spent some time at Southern California and then at Montana State, and kind of cut his teeth at Kansas State and that old Bill Snyder staff. So
time to get into some of these signings, Coach. You had 36 signees with this year's class, very heavy defensive class as well, with 10 DBs and 7 linebackers. What was your vision for this year's class to join the football program?
32. 32 is the number
32.
we had in mind. Was let's go. No, you're right. We signed 36.
Okay.
But the number we had in mind, the vision we had was let's go sign 32 high school athletes this year, and let's save a little bit of our cash to go recruit and go sway a few transfers to join us this spring and summer still. And so we're really fortunate this mid-year. We actually signed 8 mid-year transfers, which is the most we've ever signed. I believe we have, two on offense and 6 on defense. And so, those guys will be able to step in and obviously compete in spring ball and kind of establish their roles and learn our offense and defense. And good time for those guys too, right? To join a team who's going through some offense and defensive changes. There's no learning curve. They're going to be on that same learning pace as everybody else. But yeah, positions in need this year. We knew we needed to go sign some linebackers and some DBs. Especially going to a 3-down front. You have to have an abundance of linebackers for depth. We had two DBs leave our team to transfer out mid-year. 2 young guys that we were kind of counting on to develop and be some dudes. And so, yeah, we filled the bucket up with some more DBs, and we have some more options of guys that can develop. There's probably some guys that are ready to play right away, and that's what I'm excited about as well. I think offensive line-wise, the guy that sticks out really the most is Jacob Bayer, North Gwinnett High School in Georgia. Had a connection with Coach Sturdivant, our DB coach, who used to coach down in Georgia. But yeah, I think Jacob's a guy that can step in and play right away. Defensive lineman Gage Barrett will probably be relied upon. Hyatt Lang will be relied upon to step up. Maybe Reuben Johnson as well. It's hard to say. Obviously, we're so far out. It's impossible to say who's going to be ready for fall camp and those things. But yeah, I'm really proud of this class. We've worked really, really hard. We put coaches on the road in all these states that we signed kids from. A few of these guys came to our summer camp this year, and we're able to kind of evaluate them. I think of Landon Weeman, the quarterback out of Parker, South Dakota, Henry Telcan, defensive back out of Stevens High School over in Rapid City, Luke Schmitz out of Elk Point Jefferson, tight end. So it's nice to be able to have some of those guys as well, and I think that's a good plug for our camp too. And we're seeing them in person. We're getting to work with them for 3 days in a row. That's been a good connection as well.
Again, looking at some of your state-by-state breakdown, you had 10 from Colorado, which, again, is the honey hole for RMAC schools in this part of the United States, but 7 from South Dakota and 7 from Arizona, 2 states that you've also recruited hard in your tenure. As far as South Dakota kids, again, some of those camps, you've been able to look at a lot of these athletes and actually be able to coach them up. But talk about this year's in-state signings and who do you expect to develop and perform here with the Yellow Jackets?
Talk about Henry Telcan. Telly is a really tall kid out of Rapid City Stevens. Shows some versatility to maybe even be a linebacker. You got the Weaver brothers out of Rapid City Central, both extremely talented track athletes. Put it together this year on the field. Both will be playing defensive back, Trajan and Anzi. Briefly mentioned Luke Schmitz, really big kid. Has done a lot for Elk Point Jefferson, was kind of their tight end fullback. That's a kid that'll run through a brick wall for sure. Then you've got Emmett Lip out of Belfouche, South Dakota. Emmett was, Belfouche came to our team camp. Head coach Sean Sweet, old former roommate of mine, brought his team to camp, and they competed so well, and we were able to evaluate Emmett at camp, and he really stuck out in a great way in our mind. Got Will Young, wide receiver out of Harrisburg, South Dakota. Definitely excited about Will. Will was a little banged up at the end of his senior year, but we had a connection. He came out to our junior day that previous spring, and I think just the connection that we're starting to create on the east side. Coach Ty Schaefer, my wide receiver coach, was a Lincoln High grad, and he's gotten us back into Sioux Falls area and eastern South Dakota quite a bit more than maybe we have these last 5 or 6 years. And so I think that connection is going to help us a lot, and it obviously helps us with a guy like with Will Young. And then, back to Landon Weeman. Landon's a 6'4", 205 quarterback out of Parker. Throws the ball a mile. He's a tremendous basketball player. Mom was extremely athletic and played basketball in college as well. So there's a lot of pedigree there. I think Landon might be able to step in and do some things this year. He's certainly going to get the opportunity, and that's, if any of our signees are listening, or anyone that wants to know, frankly, everyone on our team is going to get an opportunity to compete for a role come fall camp. It's all about how are you preparing all the way up till August 1st to give yourself the best chance to execute and turn some heads those first 3 weeks of fall camp. But we never count out a freshman. I think of guys like John Nordsey, who you played with, I think of guys like Jaden Williams, Cam Goods was one of those guys. Coleman Chapman was a tremendous freshman kicker for us.
Yep.
We've had quite a few freshmen play for us over the years, so never want to count those guys out. But yeah, I think Landon is a guy that could be a surprise to everybody and might be more ready as a freshman than we thought.
Do you expect any of your 36 athletes and also some of your transfer class as well to join you this spring ball?
None of these 36 athletes as far as the high school kids, but certainly all 8 of our athletes, our mid-year guys, will be with us. And so, yeah, I can kind of go through those guys. Defensively, we've got 2 brothers, Hakeem and Yakeem Halliburton out of Chaffee College. One plays DB, one plays linebacker. They'll be able to step in and play and help us right away. You've got Braden DeWall, transferred from St. Francis University. Their institution made a move from D1 to D3. Saw a lot of players leave, but Braden's in his first year of college. You've got Jacob Nelson, a linebacker out of Allen Hancock College. If you want to watch a fun highlight, go watch Jacob Nelson at Allen Hancock College's huddle highlight. Really, really fun to see. Let's see, what else? You've got Malik Igahone. Malik is coming from Southwest Minnesota State. He's originally from Las Vegas, Nevada, but kind of left the team. They were kind of struggling a little bit, and they had a lot of athletes in the portal, I think, this year as well, and we were able to scoop up on Malik. And then lastly, on defense, Leland Savedia. I think Leland is going to be able to kind of pick up where Kellen Collier left off. And I know Kellen's got big shoes to fill. He was a huge force for us in the middle. But Leland is a freshman from Phoenix, Arizona, kid I recruited in the class of 25. He ended up going to NAU. Things didn't work out after his first semester of college and came to us this mid-year, but he was pushing to break the bench record a couple weeks ago as a freshman. That record's been up there for 15 years plus, 20 years. But I think Leland can step up and help us. And then offensively, we signed a tackle, Deion Kelson out of Bemidji State. Deion's going to be a graduate student here pursuing his MBA. Really tall kid. Deion's 6'7", 300-pound plus dude. Moves extremely well. We're definitely going to need him to step up as we graduated. Ray Penniman started at right tackle most of our games last year, if not all of them. And then obviously Jason Rouse at left tackle. So we got some holes to fill at tackle. And then the very last transfer that I'll talk about, Caden Box. Caden Box is a quarterback out of Fairview, Colorado. Transferred to us from Northern Colorado, University of Northern Colorado, where he saw some action, but was kind of established himself as the 2-string guy there, the 2nd-string guy. Wanted to enter the portal to look for an opportunity to see the field more. And so I think that's a great place for us at D2. We can say, hey, we have a need, you have a need, well, let's meet in the middle, and kind of created a win-win situation. But Caden's a huge kid. He's a 6'5" kid, well over 200 pounds. He's got a cannon for an arm, beautiful throw. Kind of reminds me of how Tanner Clarkson would throw. Maybe not quite as mobile, but definitely taller, definitely bigger. And so it'll be unique to have him out there, and those guys will be competing. Really, we just have 3 quarterbacks competing this spring. It'll be Cade Weber, Caden Box, and then Dylan Eldridge. And Dylan started one game for us this year against Pueblo.
Awesome. Well, Coach, thank you for joining us, talking about this year's signing day class, and looking forward to seeing the Jackets in action this spring and coming up this fall.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys are available, if fans want to come out and watch, spring scrimmage is going to be Saturday, April 18th, 1 o'clock at Lyle Hare Stadium. We'll do offense versus defense, inter-squad scrimmage, get after it, and hopefully it'll be a beautiful day for us. So, yeah, thank you, Clayson. Go Jackets.